Major developments in the confirmation battle over Brett Kavanaugh. The White House giving the FBI the go-ahead to expand its investigation of the Supreme Court nominee by interviewing anybody it deems necessary. This, as a source tells Fox News, the Bureau's probe could wrap up as early as tomorrow. President Trump standing by his nominee in light of the latest FBI review.
This is now their 7th investigation, so it's not like they're, just starting. I want them to do a very comprehensive investigation, whatever that means according to the senators and the Republicans and the Republican majority. I want them to do that. I want it to be comprehensive. I actually think it's a good thing for Judge Kavanaugh. Now, with that being said, I'd like it to go quickly. And the reason I'd like it to go quickly, very simple. It's so simple. Because it's unfair to him at this point.
Meanwhile, after demanding this FBI probe, Democrats are predictably complaining that it's not good enough.
Well, based on some of the reports that we've seen this weekend, I'm very concerned about this because the White House should not be allowed to micromanage an FBI investigation.
There's time, The thing is that every Senate vote matters, and there's time to get to the bottom of it. Even if it's 7 days, that's bad enough. But then to limit the FBI as to the scope and who they're going to question.
Plus, the Arizona prosecutor we saw at the hearing last week is dealing a blow to Democrats. Rachel Mitchell details in a memo why she would not bring criminal charges against Kavanaugh, saying it's even weaker than, quote, he said, she said. All right, Dana, you missed this on vacation. This Kavanaugh situation is still happening.
I kept tabs on it a little bit, was able to, they have some Wi-Fi, a thing called Wi-Fi over there in Spain. It is an absolutely remarkable week, and it's... one thing, Greg, I don't think you'll mind, I reveal our text. I said, I can't believe that I missed that week. And he said, that's okay, next week will be worse.
And, we're going to have to see those texts, by the way. We'll have to subpoena those.
So extremely compelling, and some interesting polling came out today from Quinnipiac saying that 48% of people voters polled, said they do not think he should be confirmed, 42% did. But 56% think he is being... This is part of a political smear campaign, and I can't remember the other number. And so you're going to see some more polling on this. There are basically 4 senators now that this comes down to. Murkowski, Flake, Collins, and then Manchin. And President Trump was in West Virginia over the weekend. There's incredible pressure on Senator Manchin because his constituents, at a number that is like astronomical, want Brett Kavanaugh to be confirmed. I think a risk for Brett Kavanaugh this week, or for his nomination, not for him personally, is that now the hearing's done. Now we've got this FBI investigation. As you said, the Democrats saying, well, that's not good enough. Senator McConnell saying today, we will vote this week. And in the meantime, you basically have dead air for Brett Kavanaugh. President Trump speaking so passionately about his nominee today from the Rose Garden helps fill that gap a little bit. But the news cycle moves so fast. President Trump has a rally tonight. He's got one again tomorrow. How long can he keep this going? It's really important, I think, for the nominee and for President Trump to keep it in the news on their terms.
Well, he's high energy enough, so I think he can fill the void. This Mitchell report, Emily, that came out, and she was, nonpartisan sex crimes prosecutor who the Republicans brought in. She released this letter that said some really interesting things, that she would never, ever bring charges in a case like this, and it is incredibly weak for a number of reasons.
Right, and I thought multiple things about that report. So first of all, we're already hearing backlash that she even submitted a report, which I found preposterous, because what is she going to do? Text from the plane like, thanks, guys, that's a wrap? This was outsourced by the Senate Judiciary Committee Republicans for her to do a job. So of course she's going to issue a report. Then I'm also hearing a lot of backlash from other prosecutors saying, well, this wasn't a proper investigation and that's not the appropriate standard. But the bottom line is she did the absolute best with what she was given and the investigation in that closed world. She used the preponderance of an evidence standard, which is the lowest. And note this, that to bring charges as a prosecutor, the standard for that is that you have a reasonable belief that the charges are supported by probable cause, and then also that admissible evidence is supported by beyond a reasonable doubt and that it's in the interest of justice. So she used basically the lowest possible standard, giving it the lowest bar to cross, and still found it insufficient. So I found the report absolutely telling, and that she should be given a lot more credence than she is.
So, Juan, are the Democrats out of bullets here? We've had hearing after hearing. He's produced more documents and answered more questions than any SCOTUS nominee in history. And now we have a 7th FBI background check. Is that going to be enough?
Well, check your history. I mean, we've had much longer confirmation battles in our history. But, I mean, to me, what you're seeing here, one, I'm amazed at what you just said about this prosecutor from Arizona not being partisan. She was brought in because they were all male Republicans, and she was brought in by the Republican side, by definition.
Does that make her partisan?
Yes, it does. And in fact, as I recall, Lindsey Graham cut her off because he thought she wasn't being effective. And now she decides she's going to try to redeem herself with her Republican buddies by issuing this report, which has no standing because it wasn't based on any kind of investigation or anything beyond what she was able to gather at this hearing.
Yeah, I remember hearing from Democrats that they liked this woman and that she did a nice job and it was gentle.
Yeah, because it was ineffective from the Democrats' perspective.
Oh, so they're the partisans.
But here's the thing. I think the key point is that you look at the poll numbers that Dana referred to. You look at the Fox polling, Quinnipiac, you look at Harris, Harvard. It's all the same. People don't believe Kavanaugh. They do believe her.
No,
is that true?
No, that's not.
I think that wasn't
the question. I mean, unless you saw a different poll. I mean,
no,
that wasn't the question that was asked.
Well, clearly, what I've got is in the Fox poll has 50% do not confirm, 36% believe Ford, not Kavanaugh. But I think it's become tribal, Dana. I think it's absolutely become tribal. And in the latest polling, what you see is an uptick in terms of the number of Republicans who are backing Kavanaugh. Previously, by the way, it was amazing to me, they didn't back Kavanaugh to the extent they backed Neil Gorsuch. This is not a popular nominee. But now, in the midst of the tribal warfare, you see it tick up, and it ticks up among Democrats as well. The key question for me, though, in terms of what we go forward, is what is the standard? Because what we've seen is now I think it's 4 people who knew Kavanaugh either at high school or college are saying he wasn't forthcoming and truthful about his drinking. So if you hold to this standard, now you're going to get Democrats who are going to say, this is a matter of character for someone we're putting on the court for a lifetime appointment, and this guy's lying about his drinking.
No one lied about any drinking, Juan. I mean, you want to use the beer standard, the drinking standard, Ted Kennedy comes to mind. Greg, what do you think?
Where to start? I hate the fact that we're using polling to gauge someone's innocence.
Right.
That is, this is not a job interview. This is now the Coliseum, in which we turn to the crowd on whether or not we could give the thumb up or the thumb down. They didn't just move the goalposts here. They just turned over the game board because they knew they were in trouble. To the point about if he's lying about booze, what else is he lying about argument? Well, it's clear that Dr. Ford lied about a number of things as well. You can call them inconsistencies. That's the nice, polite way of saying lies. Whether it was about plane travel. She only has a fear of flying when it's not on vacation. The polygraph, she wasn't sure when it was. She said it was a devastating experience, but there were 2 questions. The claim that she never got an offer from the Republicans, like Grassley, to have the meeting over there, giving notes to reporters, changing bystander to not bystander. There's a lot of I'll be diplomatic and say inconsistencies to her otherwise credible testimony. That's how you talk, apparently. So, if his lies about booze, which I do believe, he fibbed about his drinking because he's talking about his drinking in front of his wife and kids. And I'm sorry, I do the same thing. When my wife asks me how much I drank over the weekend while she's away, I say, not much, honey. And she goes, yeah, right. So the fact is, those lies have nothing to do with the actual accusation. But since we're talking about alcohol abuse, let's talk about the media and the Democrats, who are obviously alcoholics because they completely blacked out the last 5 days. They do not remember that the third accuser has a history of lying and sexual misconduct claims, lying about her employment, lying about her education. But they don't seem to remember the Avenatti bombshell from last week, which is now a bombshell that she lied about her background. But that somehow they blacked out about that. They blacked out about the Rachel Mitchell's memo. We're covering it. The only reason we're covering it because no one else is, because they blacked out. These are huge things that the media cannot remember because because they don't want to remember it. It's disgusting.
You know what, though? I mean, you listen to the president today. The president's now engaging in just the kind of angry, bullying behavior. Oh, Cory Booker drove Newark way down. Richard Blumenthal's a liar. All these Democrats, they aren't angels over there. I know them. I've seen them in compromise.
Isn't that great,
Well,
though?
wow.
Isn't that great? Isn't that great?
Let me tell you, we are talking about a Supreme Court nominee.
And a man and a family.
This is totally denigrating the whole process. It's now become
Uncorroborated accusation destroying a person's life.
Behavior.
Destroying a person's life. An uncorroborated accusation destroying...
No. You're focusing as if this is just about.
That's all it's
Kavanaugh.
about.
No,
that's
it's
all
not.
it's about.
But you have to
It's
admit
about the
Democrats take
Supreme
some
Court.
responsibility.
So you're willing to
whether or not we
destroy
destroy-
somebody over a seat.
I
You
don't
can
say-
have the seat.
Hey,
I would say...
Let me tell you,
know,
I've got bullets in me from trying to defend someone when I thought they were unfairly being maligned. But I'm going to tell you this. When you look at Kavanaugh, you have to. You just said you think he's fibbing about the drinking.
Yes.
You got to speak to a man's or woman's character.
Doesn't
if you
speak,
put them in
look,
charge
that
of the
doesn't
Supreme
speak to the
Court
character of a guy trying
I'm
to play
sorry.
down the
If you-
exaggerations over beer.
It
to
goes
the point,
beyond that, though, Greg.
Where?
In the yearbook, you got stuff in there about, remember,
the yearbook.
Remember about the Devil's Triangle,
when you turned
about boffing?
Yes.
Oh, no.
You weren't here. That's about flatulence.
You were selling books while we basically
Yes, we already went through that.
entire thing.
Yeah.
The Devil's Triangle is a drinking game.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a sexual position.
And boffing is not sexual.
Not that I've heard.
It's
you got
It's boofing and it's flatulence.
You know what? We're gonna.
Don't ask me how I know.
I want to see your yearbook.
My yearbook?
Yeah, pull Juan's yearbook, please.
Here's the afro.
Producers, pull the yearbook.
You don't have to go that far.